Hi everyone. I just wanted to get on a quick video here with Kevin to kind of talk about what's been going on with us for the last couple of months. Last time I made a video, he was in the hospital for an infection, and thankfully that's all cleared up. He had another surgery to kind of clear out the infection. It was a staph infection, but he was on heavy antibiotics for a little while, and yeah, that's all cleared up, and now we're ready to start treatment. So did you want to kind of talk about what's going on with that?
Yeah, so like I think Vicky said previously, I have a chondrosarcoma of the skull base. So that's a bone and soft tissue cancer that's pretty resistant to chemotherapy, and you really can only treat it with certain types of radiation. It's fairly resistant to that as well, and you need to kind of use a high dose. And typically, at least for someone like me, given the sort of sensitive area that it's at, like right by my brain and nerves and brainstem, people typically use a proton beam therapy, which is a good way of getting a real high dose of radiation in kind of a real focused area. But that makes really the planning and the whole procedure a little bit higher risk, because if you have any radiations kind of splashes out into the healthy tissue, especially the brainstem, you can actually get some pretty serious complications. So we had a couple different options. We've seen a couple different doctors in the area. U of M doesn't. The doctors we were dealing with, U of M, they don't have a proton beam machine. The other biggest hospital local to us is Beaumont, and we saw a doctor there, and they were really nice, and end up not going with them. It wasn't my chondrosarcoma, wasn't really their specialty. Ended up finding a doctor in Mass General in Boston, Dr. Shannon McDonald, who is a specialist really of a couple things, but one of them is chondrosarcomas of the skull base, and definitely proton beam therapy, along with some other stuff like pediatric care, and kind of really definitely matches with what I need. So pretty cool to have a Harvard professor going to be working or kind of overseeing my treatment. So that's definitely giving me a lot of confidence. Got a lot of experience in this.
They've had cases like yours before as well too.
Yeah,
so.
no, it's one of the areas where when you have kind of like a really rare cancer in a really rare area, especially that's really sensitive like I do, you tend to kind of go to sort of the couple hospitals that really specialize this. If I had a chondrosarcoma in a more common place, like in one of your limbs, it's really not as sensitive as right up against your brainstem. So definitely really happy to start this whole process with them. Had a couple online visits with them, and going to be flying out to Boston this week to see them for the first time, do my first MRI, CT scan, everything, and then real soon I'm going to be doing treatments in Boston. So I'm going to have to be out there for several weeks. I'm going to be doing 5 days a week radiation, and we're going to do our best to try to keep kind of normalcy and everything while we're out there. But yeah, it's really exciting to start this whole process. The good news is, even though it is cancer and it's kind of a rare cancer that's sort of resistant to a lot of things, most people, so they say, go into remission after treatment. So there's definitely a very high possibility that I'll be getting out of this with, either no cancer, or the cancer is very, very diminished and it's something that is manageable in the future. So, other complications like nerve damage is possible, but somewhat unlikely or not that common. So the goal is that I'll come out of this okay, and that would be great. But at the end of the day, even if that doesn't happen, the situation that I'm in would still be a manageable one. So it's definitely giving me a lot of confidence, and kind of made me have a lot more peace with the situation that I'm in, because there's I would say, a lot more certainty on what's going to happen, and it's been good. So it's been really helpful to be talking with everyone and find out what's going on, and again, everyone's been reaching out and giving us support, which has been phenomenal.
Yeah, thank you.
And we really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's nice to just have a plan for the next couple of months, and then after the radiation, we just kind of monitor for a little while, make sure that it's not growing, that it's not metastasizing, and that's going to be it for a little while, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, they say that if the cancer does come back, it'll be within the first 5 years. So it's going to be kind of hard to say that I'm in like remission until, I mean, there's been a long time. And the thing is, even if there doesn't seem to be any cancer growing now, I mean, it's always possible it could grow sometime in the near future. So it's going to be one of those situations where I don't know how exactly we're going to go about this when we're done.
Yeah.
It's going to be kind of a waiting period, but at the end of the day, you're still going to be, even in the worst case, we're going to be reducing the cancer down to a very small fraction of what we started with.
Yeah.
We've already removed well over half the tumor via surgery. So then this radiation is going to cut it down to a very small portion, if any, survives. So it's still growing. So it's something that, plenty of time to sort of kind of monitor and see how it goes.
Yeah. And then after that's all done, things are settled, and COVID's no longer a thing, we're going to get your voice fixed.
Yeah, sooner or later I'm going to get this voice fixed. So even though I've had some improvement in some of my nerves, there's kind of 3 areas that I've had issues with, sort of my neck and shoulders, obviously my throat, my voice, but it's also the kind of inside my mouth, the back of your mouth, your throat. So I've had improvements in like my neck and shoulder, had improvements with kind of my soft palate in my mouth. Still no real improvement with my vocal cord, but some people have been saying that I sound better, and thank you, I appreciate it. I don't hear much of a difference, but apparently I sound better, so it's good. But yeah, so we've had some nerve recovery, but sooner or later I'm gonna have to get my vocal cord fixed, get it it gets pushed over so it can kind of close, and then I'll stop coughing and having worse voice all the time.
Yeah. But kind of day to day, I mean, we're just chugging along. Just, we're still quarantining, working from home. Kevin's going to be able to work throughout this whole treatment. That's the current plan.
Yep.
But yeah, we've been doing good. Jack's been keeping us busy, and he's walking, talking, just being a really cute little guy, and he's helped us, stay strong throughout this. And he's what we are just, our focus is on raising him together. So that's our focus right now, is getting Kevin healthy, getting through this pandemic, and then just moving on and continuing what our life plans are. So just a little bump in the road here, but I wanted to make sure that you guys got a chance to see Kevin. He's doing really well since I last talked to you guys. Pretty much completely healed from his.
You can't even really see the scar. It's all hiding behind my hairline.
Yeah.
So what more could I ask for?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So who knows? That radiation might cause some temporary hair loss. I'm not quite sure, but we're quite ready to, have a lot of, I don't know how to say nerve damage, but you're willing to.
So for me, the risk of potential nerve damage worse than I already have due to radiation, really, I mean, there's so much that would have to have, so much damage I'd have to have for me to not consider a chance at being completely cancer-free worth it. Yeah. So, I mean, if I have something weird happens and I get some brainstem damage, I mean, the worst case is...
We're good. We're back.
Yeah, right.
We're back.
The worst case is... Yeah, the worst case is that you have some really... Don't clip the head. There you go. The worst case is that something, life support gets damaged, but that's like such a super rare...
Yeah.
Like, it's unlikely to happen, and then that's a really unlikely thing to have happen on top of that. So even if that happens, or even if I do get nerve damage, I would have to lose so much functionality in my body for me to not consider it worth it. And it's something that I'm really prepared to deal with. It's going to be, I mean, worst case is, there's definitely like really kind of scary things that have happened, but the far scarier thing is having cancer grow uncontrolled in my body. And if there's some chance to get rid of that now, to me, there's almost nothing that's not worth that. So,
and we've had many many a weekend morning talks about this and going
Yeah.
through our options and talking things through, and we're on the same page. So our goal is get rid of this cancer, have a good quality of life, and let's
Yeah.
continue on.
And the big thing is, everyone says that with me being fairly young, and I don't feel that way anymore, but apparently I'm still young, is that, my nerves are still in a place where they can grow back. I mean, like post-surgery, I had some nerve improvement, right? That makes me confident that even if there's some sort of damage to the nerves, that it's not going to be permanent, or it's not going to be as bad as it could be, or maybe bad as someone who's maybe older and is their body has a harder time healing. So if there's bad possibilities, but all of this is 100% worth it, even with the risks, even when you consider the very unlikely risks. So I'm in a mental place where I'm ready to take whatever comes towards us, because anything that's going to happen is going to be a big improvement from where we have now, one way or another.
Yep.
And to me, long term, making this or getting through this is my number one priority. So everything else besides that is not that big of a deal to me. So, yeah.
And this cancer is not genetic either. So that was the one thing that when Kevin got out of his first surgery, so we've known that it wasn't the original, what was schwannoma.
Yeah, which is like acoustic neuroma, which is like a pretty common.
That's what.
Type.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, when they first opened me up and they started resecting the tumor, they knew right off the bat that it wasn't. They could tell just based on the tumor consistency. It was like a paste.
Yeah.
It's kind of like putty almost.
Yeah.
So they knew that it wasn't a schwannoma or a meningioma or something normal that you would find there. It was something unusual like a chondrosarcoma. That was the first thing I wanted to know, is I was waking up from anesthesia, and I was like, they're like, well, you have something different. It's low grade. And I'm like, that means cancer, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm like, is that genetic? And the doctor said, no, very unlikely to be genetic. And I freaking cried because I was so happy. And the doctor knew exactly what I was asking for, because my son has like a 99.9% tile head. Yeah. Right? And I just am now having a brain tumor that I don't know what it is. Yeah, the first thing I'm going to ask is make sure that it's not something that could be affecting my son. And thankfully, it's not. Yeah. So that's a really good thing to hear. And that was my first reaction.
But the reason that the recovery was so difficult, it wasn't so much the physical pain. We knew that he probably had cancer, but we didn't have the pathology. And just looking at chondrosarcoma, it looks really scary on Google. And I remember that I was the one that told him that there was a potential that this was a chondrosarcoma. And I was Googling it in the hospital in his recovery room. And I was like, it's resistant to chemo and radiation. I had to be the one to tell him that. I couldn't even look at him. And it was super difficult. And so that was the hardest part of the recovery, was dealing with the cancer diagnosis and dealing with a rare cancer diagnosis. So,
and the big thing is, I mean, when it says it's resistant, it basically chemo doesn't work against it, but radiation still does.
Yeah. And the reason chemo doesn't is because it's such a slow growing cancer. Yeah. So that's well, I mean, the good thing about radiation is you shoot enough radiation at any cell, it's going to die. It's just a matter of finding a way to target it in such a way that it doesn't hurt the surrounding tissue, which, I mean, with modern medicine, it's up against like my brain and my brainstem, and they're still able to target just that specific area, and it's really, really pretty amazing. And I don't want to like count my chickens on this, but I mean, just going based off the fact of like what other people have had in the studies that they've done, that you have a high success rate, above 50%. I think it's somewhere like 60 to 80%, something like that, depending on the study, which includes different types of chondrosarcomas, different areas. But you have a much higher than 50% remission rate, and a very low percent of permanent damage. So I mean, it's pretty amazing that radiation resistant cancer that's right up against my brain
in my bone and right by my brainstem, they're still able to pretty successfully treat it with high dose radiation without a lot of consequence. I mean, that I had no idea that in the hospital bed. I just knew that, oh God, yeah, the two major things that that you do for cancer, it doesn't really work. Maybe not doesn't work for this. And oh, by the way, it's right up against my brain.
Yeah.
Like, what? How many more surgeries can I have?
Yeah, and they didn't remove all of it, and it was just a really, really scary time. And we had one doctor, was it Dr. Yaman?
Yeah, it was one of the neurosurgeon residents, and he really said something that really resonated with me a lot. Is that you know, when it comes to the medical profession, there's a lot that you know, either U of M or different hospitals can do for you. And as you find out more about your diagnosis, like, don't ever give up hope. Like, there's always something to hope for. And just because something about your condition, maybe you find out something that's for the worse, doesn't mean that there's still not something else you can hope for.
Yeah.
I mean, for us, we hope that we're going to get all the tumor out in one go. And it was, you know, we thought it was like 99% benign. Well, guess what? I'm that 1%. Yeah. Or I guess I think it was maybe 5% of the cases that U of M gets are some sort of chondroid tumor. So we're just in that. But and at the time, it seemed really bad. But you know, you start to talk with the doctors. You start to see what the real statistics are, what your treatment options are. And once you find that, sometimes you'll find out that, you know, things aren't as scary or not as bleak as you might think. And, you know, I feel really lucky. And I'm not saying that there aren't people that get bad news, but, you know, just because you have bad news doesn't mean that you're done. You know, there's no hope. Even in terminal cancer, you know, there's plenty of cases. I think my uncle mentioned someone who went to school with one of my cousins in the Metro Detroit area, had a glioblastoma, which is a really deadly
aggressive
kind of brain cancer, brain tumor. And he got it diagnosed in like early high school or something. And he's in college now. He is given months to live. And with modern medicine, you know, he was able to, you know, and continues to live. So it's one of those things that even if you have something bad happen to you medically, you know, it can be bad, but there's always something to hope for. You're never
out of
completely
options,
without hope or options. And, you know, and even if you're in a circumstance where you're in some sort of terminal situation, you know, one of the things that I've really sort of thought about is that really it doesn't do you any good to give up. Because if you're worried about passing because of an illness, if you give up before and you stop living your life, then you're losing the time that you have left. And that's the really hard kind of thinking and conversations I've had to get myself in kind of a mindset where I feel sort of ready and stable to go forward with this, knowing that, you know, while I have a good chance, there's still a real possibility that, you know, I'm going to have this for the rest of my life, whatever that is. So, but it's been really good. I mean, honestly, the whole COVID thing has made it to where I'm forced to be with my family all the time. I don't have a choice.
Sorry.
My wife and son and mother are just here all the time. So, that's been, I think, the single biggest thing that has helped me through all this is that I've been able to just be with everyone, and I feel like I'm spending as much time as I possibly can with them.
You are.
And that, I mean, if I'm going to pick how, like, I'm going to spend my time as I'm getting treated for cancer in an unknown future, I mean, that's all I'd want. It'd be helpful to see my friends a little bit more, but, you know.
And the rest of your family. That's the one thing is there's so many people that would love to come and offer their help and, you know, stuff like that. And we appreciate everybody that's reached out to us, all our family. They're keeping on checking on us and stuff like that. And we appreciate all of your, you know, your thoughts and your messages. And, you know, we'll keep in touch with you during this whole process as well, too. So
I can say with honesty that my biggest regret in this whole ordeal is that I can't take advantage of so many people's generosity. I can't tell you how much I mean, people support. I mean, people have been super generous, but so many people are just like, well, let me know what I can help you
Yeah.
around the house, help you with this. You know, you need to watch your son, whatever. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you know, we just haven't been able to accept as much help as I wanted.
Yeah.
I feel bad because, you know,
You feel good.
well,
Like,
no, but I'm
you
saying
feel-
it's,
yeah.
I want, you know, I wish I could. I know a
Entertain.
lot of
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
want to be a part of helping us, and because of the pandemic, because of kind of the situations, not as many people are a part of our
Yeah.
situation, I think, as much as they'd like to be. And
Yeah.
that to me, it's a little bit, I feel bad, but at the same time, it is what it
Yeah.
is nowadays.
The thing that would have helped me most is just being able to like see people and give them a hug. Like sometimes I just needed a hug. I just needed to talk to somebody, and I just needed a hug. And I reached out to a lot of people. Like I called a lot of people that I haven't talked to on the phone before, and just I needed to talk to them. And when you were in the hospital, for the second time, I wasn't able to come. And so I kind of like text his friends and kind of made like a phone tree of like, okay, hey, you guys call him at this time, you call him at this time. And like just reaching out to people and just having that physical connection was the difficult part. And so we know that you guys are having a hard time not necessarily seeing us and being a part of this this journey. But that's why I wanted to create a video so you guys can hear from us, hear from Kevin. He's doing really well, and we'll keep you guys posted on this journey here. We'll let you know how things are going, because you're going to be getting what, MRIs weekly when you're there?
Yeah, they're going to be monitor everything.
Yeah.
I think every week I'm going to be getting MRIs. So I'm going to be spending a lot of time in like a little tube. But I don't know, after having, I don't know, half a dozen of them, it's
not too bad. Not too bad.
You need earplugs.
But anyways, thank you everyone for all your support, and we'll be talking to you again soon. All right.
Yes, my sincerest thanks to everyone who's reached out to us, everyone that's given us support. The generosity has been absolutely overwhelming. Thank you so much. This has been a tough time, but it's made easier by everybody in our life that's been there for us. So we want for nothing right now. It's been the best part of this bad situation has been how much support. So everyone, just seriously, thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.